What's going on, guys? What's happening? YouTube, you guys have tuned into Rules for Rebels, and in today's video, I wanted to talk about kind of an interesting story going on in California right now. So, Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, Postmates drivers, pretty much all rideshare drivers, and a good number of gig workers in California could soon find themselves out of work. And this all kind of hinges on AB 5 and the state of California's, fight dispute with Uber. So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. I know this isn't e-commerce related, which we normally talk about, but in the whole e-commerce make money online world, there's a lot of you out there who are gig workers. I know a lot of people, while they're getting their business off the ground, use some gig work to supplement their income. I know a lot of us hire gig workers, digital marketers, content writers, Fiverr gig sellers. And kind of this case could have a lot of wider implications beyond just rideshare drivers. So that's kind of why I thought this story was relevant. Also, I did one video in the past. I got signed up and drove Uber for one single day back in, maybe it was December of 2018, January of 2019. Did it for one day. I wound up, by my calculations, losing about $60 doing it. And if you guys haven't seen that video, if I remember, I'll either put a card above or drop a link below. But if you search something like "I drove Uber for one day and lost $60," you should be able to find that video. So there was a law passed a while back called AB 5. Now, what AB 5 in California aims to do is kind of dictate like which workers are classified as employees and which workers are classified as gig workers, 1099 contract employees, or their own business owners. And back when this was passed, this became a big issue with Uber and Lyft and other companies like that. A lot of surveys were done. Overwhelmingly, anywhere between the low 80% to as many as 94% of rideshare drivers did not want to be classified as employees. Let's be honest, you're not going to get a whole lot in the way of benefits being classified as an employee. But you most likely are going to lose a lot of the freedom and autonomy that goes along with being an Uber driver or a Lyft driver. The reason a lot of people drive for Uber and Lyft are either to make a little bit of money outside their 9-to-5 job as a side hustle. They find themselves in a crunch where they need money. Maybe your roommate moves out and you got to make rent in 8 days, and you're not going to be able to go find a job, then work at the job, then get a paycheck in the next 8 days. So it's a nice way to kind of fill those gaps. And then for a lot of people, whether it's somebody starting a business, somebody trying to become an actor, become a musician who wants to devote most of their time to that, but still wants to bring in a little bit of money, Uber, Lyft, things like that, even though they're not hugely profitable, can be a way to bring in some money, put some food on the table, and pay some of your bills. So a judge ruled within like the past 48 hours that Uber essentially has, I think, 7 days or 10 days to appeal this decision. But in California, rideshare drivers are going to be classified as employees. Uber has said that if this winds up happening, they're going to shut down most likely until November. So within the next 10 days, you could see Uber no longer available in California, and that's going to affect those that depend on Uber for their income and their money. And it's also going to affect people who use Uber's services. And then Uber also said that even if they do wind up coming back to California, which it sounds like they do plan on doing, there are going to be certain areas that they're just not going to offer the service. Right now, because it really costs nothing for Uber to have somebody, on the roster as a driver, and they can choose to go out or not choose to go out. In smaller cities, in rural areas, it may not be a great place to drive Uber, but if somebody decides to drive Uber out there, that service is available. If Uber now has to start treating everybody as employees, providing everybody with benefits, providing a certain minimum income for somebody or a minimum wage for somebody, it's just not worth it to have the Uber service in smaller cities. And that's going to hurt consumers, and it's going to hurt people in those smaller cities who otherwise could have made the decision to drive if that was something that they wanted to do. This is kind of one of my beefs with the government. The government does a lot of things that cause unintended consequences, right? The California Attorney General thinks he's doing a good thing. He thinks he's helping these, workers, or I guess they're workers, employees. California thinks they're helping these workers, even though the vast majority of these workers don't want what the Attorney General in California are trying to do for them. Um, and it's very well likely going to cause Uber to, at the very least for a short period of time, not be available to those wanting to use the service, and it's not going to be available, again, to those who want to make money off the service. And ultimately, at the end of the day, Uber's goal is to essentially not burn through their pile of cash before they have autonomous cars and they can just get rid of employees altogether. For all these people who think like, oh, I'm an Uber driver, I love driving for Uber. Uber's ultimate goal is to get rid of you. And basically, they just want to last long enough and kind of maintain that market share so that when autonomous cars come around, they'll be hugely profitable, not having to pay employees. All they got to do is buy a car, and that car runs out and does its own thing. That car makes money for them. That car goes and gets its own maintenance. Even if the workers I don't know why I keep saying workers. Even if the Uber drivers wind up winning, even though I don't know that we could consider this a win since they don't want to be employees for the most part. Even if California winds up winning for the drivers, this is a short-term thing, and ultimately Uber's goal is to get rid of the drivers. Now, I guess the reason there's all this talk about November is there's something called, I believe it's called Proposition 22. And what Proposition 22, sorry, I got a call coming in. What Proposition 22 is, it's essentially going to allow the citizens of California to vote and essentially throw out AB 5, at least as far as AB 5 has to do with rideshare. Now, what Uber CEO is talking about, which I think is actually pretty smart, Uber CEO is talking about kind of a third classification, right? We always hear about, and I think we all know that technology outpaces laws and regulations, and I think it's fair to say that Uber drivers, they're definitely not full-time employees. Maybe we do need to give them and gig workers as a whole some protections and some safety nets beyond what a 1099 employee would do. And so I think it would make sense to have some third category where you're not a full-time employee, you're a little more than a gig worker. And Uber CEO's solution is to have Uber drivers pay into this pool that then goes to health benefits, unemployment benefits, etc. I don't think I said this at the outset of this video, but this has wider implications outside of just rideshare drivers. I know in California, a lot of freelance writers, content writers, freelance digital marketers are having trouble getting jobs because I think there's something where if you write over, 15 pieces, 20 pieces, 30 pieces for one company, one publication, one entity, they have to consider you as an employee. Now that may sound like a lot, it may not sound like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, if you write 2 pieces a month for a company, you basically need to be considered as an employee by that company. So a lot of companies that hire freelance, again, digital marketers, content writers, are just choosing not to work with people in California. So this does have kind of wider implications outside of just the gig economy. But yeah, like Uber, Lyft, I believe they have somewhere between 7 and 10 days for this to be appealed. If they don't wind up winning on appeal, it does look like rideshare is going to be gone from California until November. And I think come November, Uber is essentially counting on the citizens of California to rule against this. And I really don't see that happening because the overwhelming number of Uber drivers themselves don't want to be classified as employees. And the citizens of California, like if people lose Uber, lose rideshare, ultimately at the end of the day, most people don't really give a shit about Uber drivers. All they want is cheap, convenient transportation. So Uber riders are going to vote for this Prop 22. Uber drivers are going to vote for this Prop 22. It's going to wind up being overturned, and then Uber will come back to California. I think it'll be really kind of interesting to see kind of how this shakes out. I am going to drop 3 links down in the description box below. I made a longer video. It was about a 30-minute video earlier. I was debating whether or not I was going to post it just because like Screencast-O-Matic kept cutting off on me. It's a really kind of jumbled and kind of shitty and rambling video. If you guys want to see it, let me know, and I'll wind up posting it, or at the very least I'll post it as unlisted and drop a link for you guys here. But one of the things I wanted to do in that video, and I'll let you guys kind of do this for yourselves, I found 3 Reddit posts about this issue. One of them was from the Uber drivers subreddit, one of them was from the r/investing subreddit, and one was from the r/news subreddit. So you kind of get to see just the general public sentiment, but from 3 different angles. What do Uber drivers themselves think about this? What do investors who actually invest in the stock market or invest in Uber stock and other rideshare companies, what do they think about it? And then just the general public commenting on the news, what do they think about it? So I will drop links to each of those posts, as well as at least one or two to some articles about this down below for you guys. I'd be curious to kind of hear your thoughts on this issue. Go ahead and drop a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button down below. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will catch you on the next video.